get Randy out here. I'm going to fuck him up. I'm going to kill that motherfucker. Like, crazy shit, dude. All right. Okay. On this episode, we're going to talk about a very problematic tenant that I have in one of my duplexes. And this is this is like a problem that I've never in 15 years experienced, and it's getting actually pretty serious. So this guy...
Well, so a little bit about the property first.
Yeah, I'm going to get into it. So this guy was assumed... I assumed him as a tenant, and he's on... I think when I first assumed him, first of all, he's only paying $500 a month. And he's got an upper duplex. It's a 2-bedroom duplex, and it's a large duplex. And I assumed him when I did a deal for a 4-plex, a duplex, and a single-family home. The guy that I bought this from, while it was an estate sale, the guy that originally owned it was not from here. He came down here. He used to come down here and live in the single-family home. Wild story, actually. He died in the home. And when he died, he fell over and, like... He fell over onto the floor out of, like, his chair. And he was in there.
Was he old?
Yeah, he was a little older. And he was in there for, like, a week, like, rotting.
Oh my God.
So we had to, like, cut the floor out. Yeah, like, it went through the floor, like his, you know what I mean?
Oh my God.
His liquid or whatever, like, when that happens. Yeah, so we had to, like, change the floor, like, a section of the floor. And, yeah. Anyways, so I assume this guy from this purchase, it was from, like, his kids.
How long ago did you buy it?
A couple years ago. So he's been in here for forever. Okay. And... the fucked up thing is he's on social assistance now. He wasn't before. I'm pretty sure he was working. Shortly after I assumed him as a tenant, he got on social assistance and just started causing some shit, like big shit. And
like what?
Like a tenant moved out that was No, so when we assumed the property, there were squatters in the lower unit. That's what it was. There were squatters in the lower unit. We think it was his buddies in the from him in the upper unit, because he's always had, like, people kind of, like, squatting with him or, you know, living with him, whatever you want to call it. So there was a mess below. This was the property. If you go back on some of the YouTube channels or clips on Instagram, I can't remember, but I'm pulling, like, needles, or Bill found, like, an insulin needle, which is probably using for heroin, obviously, in, like, a garbage that they were just throwing out of the back of the building.
Wow. Yeah, I remember those clips.
Yeah, so it was like a gravel lot where we tore down an old garage that had to come down, and then we just graded gravel or whatever. So we ended up moving my property manager's brother in. Really nice guy. He's got a wife. You know, I'm pretty sure they have, like, kids or a kid or something like that. They're older.
The downstairs unit.
The downstairs unit. We cleaned it up, renovated it. Model tenants, paying decent rent. We don't ever hear a peep. So then pretty much as soon as they moved in, this guy was causing major issues with them. Started banging on the floor, kind of keeping them up at night. Saying, like, derogatory shit to them, like, just, like, calling them, like, you fuck it, like, fuck you, buddy, like, just kind of threatening them a little bit, like, hey, I'll fuck you up, like, that kind of stuff, right? Okay. Then it started getting to the point where he would come down. So there's, like, a stairwell in the back of the duplex where you go down and you can go into the basements or outside to the back. So he would come down and start pounding on their door, like all night. Like, I'm not even kidding. Like, all night, pounding on their door. And I have a voice recording. I can't find it, but John, my property manager, sent me a voice recording of it. And he was saying shit like, get Randy out. Randy's a tenant. Get Randy out here. I'm going to fuck him up. I'm going to kill that motherfucker. Like, crazy shit, dude. I'm going to fucking kill him, get him out. And then he'd go, like, normal. He'd be like, hey, listen, I just want to talk to him. This is his wife. This was a specific voice recording that I heard. And then he'd go, like, the other way. Be like, hey, I just want to talk to him. I just want to be friends with him. I just want to be friends with Randy.
Like full-blown schizophrenic.
I don't know, dude. I don't know what is going on. Obviously, he's got issues, right? Like, or something's not right. He's on drugs, or I don't know what the fuck. But then he would like switch and be like, get him the fuck out here. I'm going to fuck him up, and I'm going to fuck you up too. I'm going to fucking rape you. Like, he would threaten to rape her, like pounding on, like, as you can imagine. And they're not like young.
Yeah.
He's at work.
Yeah.
She's scared shitless.
Of course.
Okay? Because you got this fucking crazy guy pounding on a door. Okay? You got this crazy guy pounding on your back door, telling you that he's going to kill your husband and rape you.
Yeah.
Like, literally voice recorded. Okay?
Holy fuck.
It's wild. I've never actually had this.
How long ago was this happening?
This was like a couple months ago.
Wow.
So but it's been ongoing. They got to the point where they started taping it to call the cops, so that the cops would come, and then lo and behold, what happens? Nothing. They can't even do anything. They can't do anything for the death threats. They can't do anything for like the threats of rape. Like, none of that shit.
Why? Because that's not a crime, like threat, like, or what is it?
Well, I don't know. I'm not a fucking cop or anything, but at the end of the day, I would imagine it kind of is. But what they said to them was, well, you don't have video of him saying it. We don't know if it's actually him. So that's happening. Okay. So he does crazy shit. Like, he'll walk by the front like porch of them. He'll spit at them. He'll walk up onto the porch when they're not there, spit at the window, smear it all over, like, do crazy shit like that, dude. Like, he's doing like crazy wild shit. He kicked out like apparently their back door, not their back door, but like a back. I don't know if it's his back door for his unit, and like threw it down the back stairwell. Like, he's doing all kinds of crazy shit. Yeah. So he's like tearing up the unit and everything. So I guess the craziest part of this whole story is, number one, he's like literally threatening to kill people and rape people. And we live in a society where you can't even say anything about race, gender, sexual orientation. You can't even say it. It's a crime. But this motherfucker is threatening to kill people and rape people.
It's fucking wild.
And nothing's happening. Nothing. Literally nothing. They'll arrest him and he gets right the fuck back out. Because he does, like, he actually is, he's been arrested multiple times. Like, supposedly. I don't know when he's been arrested, but supposedly, according to the tenants, like, they see him being arrested. And they'll get him arrested. They'll bring him right back in. And I don't understand how this is, like, still an ongoing process. We can't get him the fuck out. He's on social assistance, which is even tougher. And it's a really wild scenario. And I don't know who's living with him. You know, there's like multiple people coming in and out all the fucking time. Supposedly he's, people think he's selling drugs out of there too and shit. It's a crazy fucking story.
Wow. It's
a crazy, crazy scenario.
So was there something that happened recently? Like, just because you said this morning that there was something new that happened with it. Like, because weren't you on the phone with John? No,
that was another buddy. No, it wasn't about that. It wasn't about that. That sparked this, but this has been coming up because the lower tenant is moving out January 1st, I think. And he's like, he can't take it anymore. He actually ended up in the hospital because he wasn't allowing him to sleep.
Wow. Connor, obviously, like, blank out the people's names, like, right?
Sure. Yeah. But the guy ended up going to the hospital. So I ended up calling him and I was like, listen, if is there any kind of scenario that like you would stay if we can kind of help like solve this situation? He's like, I can't. He's like, I'm actually like at this point scared for my life. And John was mentioning too, like, this guy used to like be a pretty tough guy. Like he's actually like it's John's wife's brother, so they know each other. And he was, and then John John's family owned a bar, and he would like be like, and he's not like some, timid type person. He can bang, and like at least in his younger days or whatever. But and this guy is not someone you would look at this guy and you would be like, really? But he's crazy. And crazy is dangerous. Like, that's the problem, right?
Yeah.
So, and then not only that, but they don't know who's coming in and out all the time, right? Are they on drugs? I fought people on drugs Sometimes they don't even react to you, like literally smashing them in the face.
They just don't feel pain.
They don't.
It blocks all their
it's
pain
actually
receptors.
exactly. It's crazy. So he's scared, and he doesn't want to leave. But this kind of came up again because they told John and Christine that they're worried about having like a decent Christmas because apparently the social assistant checks for him come in on the 21st. And every time that happens, he'll go get wasted, and they're up for like a week because of it. And the 21st is 4 days away from Christmas, so they're like, they're kind of really upset that this is like now it's going to ruin their Christmas, and he's doing this.
Wow.
So it kind of reiterated or brought this up again, like rehashed it for me that we have a real serious problem here with a tenant.
Yeah.
That a bigger issue is, this tenant will prevent us from getting a decent tenant below him for the foreseeable future.
Is there something that you could have done differently, rewinding time, knowing what you know now? Or is this kind of like, I guess this is just always a risk when you assume a tenant with
of course,
it's
a risk. Of course, it's a risk whenever you put anybody in a property, right?
Yeah. Because when you buy for example, like a duplex with existing tenants, you can't rescreen tenants and have them reapply and you kick them out if they don't meet the criteria, right? Like if you're buying a property, you're assuming they're those tenants.
Yeah. And the landlord tenant board is so strict here that you don't even need a lease. Like you think he's got a lease on him? You don't have a lease.
Yeah.
So it's.
So is there anything that you can do now moving forward?
Like I have been to the lawyers. I've spent thousands of dollars with paralegals. Like I'm not even joking. Yeah. I'm not even kidding. Like it's actually pretty wild. Yeah. Like breach of lease. Like it's just all like, or a breach of occupancy. Like there's all kinds of things that I've thrown at this. And the problem is he goes to court and he's just like, I'm just on hard times and this and that. And the problem is he's a fucking sociopath.
Yeah.
He gets in front of people and you think he's normal, but he is not. That's the problem.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying? Or he goes on these benders and he gets all fucking wild and fucked up and he just is an animal. So it's really odd, man. It's a really odd scenario. Like, what do you do? I've never been in this kind of scenario where it's this bad. Usually they don't stick around this long, man. Like they just don't.
Is this a rougher area where the house is?
No, it's not. It's not even.
Oh, wow.
It's Giles, man. It's like decent area of Giles. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Like it's not the greatest in the world. Like I wouldn't but like growing up, like or his age, like he's not old. He's probably like late 20s, early 30s. Like I would live there if I was like single guy. Like there's nothing wrong with the area.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's a nice duplex. Like we renovated it pretty decent.
Yeah.
At least the downstairs duplex it's big. It's probably it's got to be 1,000 square feet. Like it's a big unit.
Yeah.
Maybe even more. So it's a really really and he's breaking into their house, their unit now. Like he's breaking in. Like crazy.
Yeah.
Like he's breaking in there now and he's stealing their shit. Like
Yeah.
their shit's going missing. They're like planting stuff and it's like they'll come home, it's missing. Like they know it's missing. Their back door is broken in and
wow.
One time was broken in and they know it's him.
Yeah.
You can't prove it though, right? Obviously. So it's really weird, man. Really weird. And supposedly I didn't walk through, but my managers walked through and it looks like what he's doing is going around like stealing people's shit and like hoarding it in the building or in the unit there and selling it off kind of thing. It looks like like that kind of scenario. So it's a really fucked up. I've never dealt with something this long and this fucked up where literally we're having death threats, rape threats, threats of rape.
Yeah, it's fucked up.
Like physical threats. And again, their words and everything, I get it, but man, like when you have somebody coming down and like fucking going crazy on your unit at your home, like that's a crazy scenario, especially in a society where, like I mentioned, we live in an environment where you can't say stuff to people, derogatory, but you can say this to people.
Yeah.
I don't get it. Like you could tell it's his voice. Like it's not like he's like masking his voice. So I don't understand how this is like. And it was like 2:30 in the morning, this voice recording where this happened.
Yeah.
It was like timestamped, right? So like, It's just or 3:30 or something like that. It was really odd. So they're like they're very scared and they're just not going to stick around. So I'm gonna have to. I don't know. That's the problem. Like I don't know. I have not gotten an answer from a lawyer that says, hey, you should do this. It's always like, hey, you have to go through these channels to get this guy out.
The advantage of U.S. real estate.
Yeah, you don't have to renew leases in most areas.
Some areas,
exactly. Some areas, it might be a little different, but I don't buy in those areas.
Yeah.
So it's a really fucked up scenario. It truly is.